A very good morning to you all. I am Prashant. I welcome you to Educational Stuff. Today in this video we are gonna discuss the Hindu editorial analysis. Today is 10th June 2020. If you wanna see the rest of the articles of previous days, you can see it from the eye icon or from the description link given. There are 4 articles. The first article is regarding the autonomy of anti-black racism, regarding the racist activity done in America, that is Minneapolis. And second article is regarding the religious places, how the priority changes and what are the wrong and right priorities. And third article focuses upon the Delhi health sector. And the fourth article is regarding the labor who are left and most of them are jobless, how they can be revamped. Let's get into article discussion, but before I get into the article discussion, I request you all to subscribe to this channel so that you can get the latest updates and what are the videos of current issues. This first article is regarding opening up the religious places. The priorities were wrong. Some things are better kept for later during a pandemic, and a public worship is certainly one of them. When epidemiologists were recently polled in the US on when they would rethink to attend the religious services, 43% of about 200 respondents said that they would consider that in 3 months to a year. An equal number said not for 1 year. They caution on mass religious gatherings which do not lend themselves to physical distancing and have a history of amplifying the COVID-19 pandemic in more than the country should sober down the government. They are keen of opening religious places early in the unlock phase. Even with online registration, e-passes, distance marking and the use of personal protective equipment by staff, gathering in confined spaces go against the grain of infection prevention principles. It is heartening that some temple boards, churches, Islamic religious bodies have wisely decided to remain closed. As among the top 5 virus-infected nations or affected nations, India cannot afford to create conditions that lead to mass transmission. The priority today is to refloat a crippled economy safely while postponing all optical activities to the time when there be a disaster or better disease control. The compulsory to unlock the infection have not peaked has already placed the onus of remaining safe on the people, a significant section of whom have health vulnerabilities such as diabetes. After pursuing a lockdown strategy that had a low impact on the infection curve but many negative outcomes, India needs to draw up its unlock priorities carefully. It must show the political will to enforce norms and public behavior such as mask wearing and physical distancing, yet the scenes of many cities coming out of the lockdown, including the hard-hit ones such as Mumbai, show anxious crowding in many situations including the public transport. Night curfews are weekly enforced. This is worrying considering the limited medical capacity that exists to care for a large number who might suffer the worst effects of COVID-19. Getting unlocking wrong could mean an explosion of cases, as WHO, that is World Health Organization, has already warned. All available resources must be devoted towards productive and essential work. The center has to also explain what it is doing to access the prevalence of the infection at the community level at suitable scale, which is crucial to identify focus areas and decide the course of the further unlock phases. This is regarding by opening up the religious places of worship now, India risks high community transmission. The second article is like a racist activity of anti-black racism. Racism has raised its ugly head in full public view once again. It was revolting to see an adult gasping for breath, breathing in pain as a knee of white policeman crushed his neck, and within a minute dying. That the black life has been barbarically taken away by the police brutally in America. Despite the civil war over slavery and civil rights movement for dignity and equality, systematic discrimination and violence against the black persist. Racism continues unabated. My sole focus here is coming at the grips of what is racism. In a nutshell, and what with a only slight oversimplification, it is this. One can tell everything important about a person, his group, his past, future by noting the color of his skin. Of course, noticing the physical characteristics of a person, say the color of a skin, is not itself a racist. Good writers are expected to provide a vivid description of characters' physical features, including skin color. This need not imply the ideal of race, leaving alone racism. The idea of race, however, when a specific bodily features like color, shape of nose, eye, lips are permanently clumped together, and human beings are classified in terms of these distinct biological clusters, and if further it believed that these shared features are intergenerationally transmitted, then we possess the idea of race, that is a group with a common biological descent. Every single human being is not only seen then to be assigned to separate biological determined groups, but also as born with traits directly inherited from biological ancestors. Each race is then believed to be fundamentally permanently different from others, differences that are innate and inedible. The idea of race is deeply problematic, despite many attempts, particularly in 1930, to demonstrate its scientific basis. Race or racial classification have virtually no scientific foundation. If anything, the only conclusion from available evidence is that the whole of humanity has the same lineage, that there be no races within humans, but only one single human race. Yet, while significantly speaking, race is a function, a large number of people believe in the existence of races. Race is very much of a cultural and societal reality. The classification of humans into different races is necessary but far from sufficient ingredient of racism, which depends on two additional deeply troublesome features. First, a given set of biological characteristics is believed to be necessarily related to certain dispositions, traits of character and behavior. Biological descent fixes a person's culture of ethics. Our capacity of reasoning, of a civilization, our prosperities and lasciviousness, or ability to make money can all be read off by examining our face and a body. Second, the racial culture and ethical systems are hierarchically arranged. These on the top are intrinsically superior to those at the bottom. Racism then is a systematic ideology, a complex set of beliefs and practices that, one presumed basis on biology, divides humanity into higher us and of a lower of them. It not only sustains the permanent group hierarchy but deeply stigmates those designated as inferior. This sense of hierarchy provides a motive for, say, whites to treat blacks in a way that they would be viewed as a cruel or unjust if applied to the members of their own group. For instance, contact with them is often regarded as containment or polluting. It should therefore be avoided or kept a minimum to prevent the containment through the intermarriage. The southern states of America have severely lost sanctioning public lynching. How else could the color line be scrupulously maintained? This means that something is important. Though color consciousness should not be problematic in the theory, in reality an acute awareness of the color is almost always a symptom of racism lurking somewhere unnoticed. Racism distinguishes even infection or inferior races of two kinds. One inferior race is considered so much beyond the pale that it cannot be lived with or must be exterminated. This is infamously illustrated by a virulent of anti-Semitism in Nazi Germany that led to financial or final solution. The second type of race is fit only to control, subordinate, and enslaved. Anti-black racism, our main concern here, is an obvious example of closer home to some Warren-related ideologies. An idea of display. The racism naturalizes a person's belief, character, and culture. For example, being uneducated is seen not as socio-economic deprivation but a sign of inherited low IQ. Blacks are predatory and are also seen to have the innate streak of savagery, which, unless kept down by the brute force from time to time, might explode and destroy civilization. It is the ideology of anti-black racism that was brazenly on the shown in the 9 minutes video clip of merciless life existing or extinguishing force used by police on George Floyd. Some Americans notice that and seem shell-shocked by racism only when such violence occurs. Hasn't the civil rights movement been successful in damaging racism? The most asked question. It is not difficult now to justify any act by explicit reference to the race. It is not good reason to believe that racism will disappear from America by good laws, education, or rational argument. Alas, the very success of the movement that helped develop a motivated blindness to help open discrimination of blacks have been displaced by another system of hidden discrimination. A systematic constraint on avenues for improving the quality of life forces that descends into petty crime and stigma attitude to imprisonment and the serve discrimination and exclusion of the fellow charges of felony. All this, as the scholar such as Jane Hill have shown, have made a criminal system procedure or produce results as vicious as generated by the colorly based slavery and racial segregation. A rationalized criminal system. It is amply clear that the feel-good anti-racism of some Americans that view racism as an aggregate of mistaken beliefs held by the individuals that can be dissipated by educational and rational arguments simply does not work. A very good education helps in dismantling racism, but the fact remains that much of lies hidden within the social structure in habits practices. Only the peaceful movement to end institutionalized racism with both blacks and white participants, or quite like the recent protest after Floyd's murder, can break the back of this evil. But can such movements be sustained, or will they be allowed? This particular article is regarding the anti-black racism, and there are a lot of questions. Only peaceful and sustained movement can break the back of evil with the institutionalized and hidden. And moving to another article, this is being vocal on a right local. On May 12, Prime Minister Modi called upon India to be vocal for a local. The way in which we as the citizens and professionals interpret the local will have far-reaching effects on the country's landscape and prosperity. We could transform ourselves into a greener and more human society with access to affordable healthcare, functioning public schools, choices over where we work and live, and support for those who cannot work. Cities could breathe again, and families could move to opportunity rather than to be forced out of their homes by drought and desperation. Or we could rapidly roll backwards, buying umbrellas without easily, broken frames, toasters whose levers have been held down, office chairs with casters that grip rather than slide. And most importantly, there will be people with experience and skill who cannot find the capital, the design, or the markets use them. Thousands of them continue to return to their villages each day. A pointer. COVID-19 has brought many countries to be unexpected fork in their development trajectories. It has made visible new facts, figures, and feelings of citizens towards these facts and figures. In my quotation, pre-COVID-19 life, past women in their colorful rice sunny elegance with the plates of well concrete on their heads, chattered with the home and offices, staff and their villages and their parents visited the tailor to find had gone. These everyday encounters and conversations made India what it was. They brought color to my life and warmth to my heart. This just does not see the flip side, that for all these people their minds of heart elsewhere must be in time, in places they would have liked to be if they could have earned a living and educated their children. The pandemic with the fears of lockdown has shown us in a painful and graphic detail the massive number who would have liked to be taken their ancestral homes in such circumstances. These images of those who reached and those who did not should guide our conception or the local conceptions of our local. Village demographics have changed dramatically. Pockets of virtual empty villages of Himalayan foothills have become populated, and many of the poorest parts of the country have experienced the largest in. How to get it right? The work kind of the local would be to promote goods that are made in India through tariffs, quotas, and new government procurement rules. Although we have attained a global competitiveness over the last 2 decades in many new fields such as software development, pharmaceuticals, and engineering products, all these have to be flourished through international collaboration and feedback from the foreign consumers. It would be short-sightedness to imagine that we should reach these consumers if we restricted access to our own market. But this reminds the conversation with a friend a year ago, as she wanted to design products that they were brought in international market because they were simply the most beautiful. She subsequently succeeded in doing just that, and in process probably thought of many elements of good design. Many of our sustainable energy initiatives have also depended on government action elsewhere. Further, solar energy was subsidized in Germany and in California when it was far more expensive than fossil fuel. China mass-produced solar panels and cost production came down enough for our countries, including ours, to start adopting them. The pandemic should have made us aware, like never before, of our interdependencies, of the limits of our knowledge and the need for global engagement. Sustainable and resilient communities cannot be built on fiscal and regulatory structure that is highly centralized. The center would have to devolve to the state and states to locally elected representatives. If we adequately fund, support, and trust local governments to remain open to observing both knowledge and products of others produced better than us, we can create a society where all, not just in a few matter. If we insist that everything can be made in India and close borders because the crisis sealed them temporarily, we open ourselves mediocrity and isolation, continued mass poverty, and greater vulnerability to future pandemics. We have the capability to refocus on right locals if only we could agree on the vision. This article is regarding the capacity of India to refocus on the right choice only if it is agreed in a vision. This is regarding being vocal on a right local. And this is the last article. This is regarding the health sector. How the crossing the line. Delhi should not hide failures by limiting healthcare access to just its residents. The decision announced by Chief Minister Kejriwal to restrict COVID-19 treatment to Delhi's private hospitals and those run by the government of NCT, only of those with the proof of residence in the city, was ill thought out. A Lieutenant Governor Anil Baijal noted in the order overruling the decision, right of health is an integral part of right of life under Article 21 of Constitution. While healthcare is from being universal in India, positively denying that someone on the grounds of residency is insensitive and irresponsible. The Lieutenant Governor has now directed that the treatment should not be denied to anyone. Mr. Kejriwal depicted a scenario of people of whole country overwhelming hospitals in the city as a justification for his nativism. After LG's intervention, the Chief Minister and his deputy Manish Sisodia reiterated the arguments and and preemptively sought to wash their hands of the worsening situation. They expect 5.5 lakh COVID-19 cases by July end, which is 80,000 beds they could not be needed. In 10 weeks, lockdown was meant for the ramp up of health infrastructure. If the AAP government has done that, it has only to blame itself. Restrictions of the movement is a crucial tool of pandemic management, but it has to be justifiable. The NCD is functionally contagious with Gurugram in Haryana and Noida in Uttar Pradesh. Thousands across borders for the work and other needs including healthcare. People contribute to tax revenues and 3 different jurisdictions. This makes Mr. Kejriwal rhetoric unreasonable as much as Karnataka's decision to prevent residents of in Kerala from accessing hospitals in Mangalore earlier. The Aam Aadmi Party's government's approach is contentious for more reasons, however, as it is using it also diversionary tactic. While the city is recording an exponential growth in infections, the government is trying to deflect attention from its inadequacies by hiding the numbers. It has reduced the testing dramatically from June 2nd. It was 6,070, on June 7th it was 5,042, and in June 8th it was 3,700. These are the figures of the different tests. The Aam Aadmi Party government accused private labs for flouting ICMR guidelines and discouraged testing of asymptomatic people. The high positivity rate, the proportion of positive to test locals indicate that NCT is not testing enough. The ICMR May 18th strategy directed testing of direct and high-risk contacts of confirmed coronavirus individuals, even if asymptomatic. The government revised this by removing asymptomatic from the clause, which was also overturned by the LG, that is Lieutenant Governor, Lieutenant General, who ordered that guidelines must be adhered to their entirely. Delhi is testing more than a national average per million population, but that does not say much given in the population density that is 30 times of national figure. Delhi needs to get its act together. This is regarding the crossing the line. Delhi should not hide the failures by limiting healthcare to its residents. This is the end of the article discussion. Before I conclude, I request you all to subscribe to my channel for further updates. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day.